Hey, welcome aboard for a Wednesday. You're a part of the A Game. I'm Rob Akampora from the podcast studios of a shared universe on the Jersey Shore. And the gentleman to my right, he really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyhow. The 20-plus time tag team champion, the WWE Hall of Famer, who has made a hell of a transition to Sirius XM. He is a part of Fight Nation Channel 156, and the show Busted Open can be heard Monday through Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. And they actually do a repeat of the day before, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the legend, Bully Ray. What is up, brother? Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Rob. How are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing okay, man, and I appreciate you coming on a Wednesday. I know this is like your busy night of the week, for sure.
Very hard work tonight. I have to watch 4 hours of pro wrestling. Do you know how difficult it is to sit on a couch for 4 hours and watch pro wrestling?
Are there alcoholic beverages involved while you're watching?
It's not easy. It's harder than digging ditches, let me tell you.
It's interesting how you've made this transition. I mean, I get the feeling this was not something that was planned, that you wound up here on Sirius XM. How did this all come about?
Believe it or not, I've always been interested in radio. A very good friend of mine, his name is Jason Bailey. His on-air personality is Buckethead. He was the morning guy down in Orlando, down in Tampa. The morning guy now in Atlanta. So he's worked in top 10 markets his whole life. And I had been a guest on his show many a times. And obviously being a professional wrestler with ECW, the WWE, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, blah, blah, every major company in the world, you're always doing radio and television and stuff like that. And I found myself enjoying radio a lot.
Right.
And I said to myself, maybe one day I'll give it a shot, maybe one day. And then the guy that created Busted Open and myself had remained friendly over the years because I had been a guest on his show so much. And we just started talking about a particular wrestling match. And in the midst of the banter via texting, I said, have you ever thought about taking your show to the next level? And he goes, well, what'd you have in mind? I said, what if Busted Open turned into something like an ESPN, where you had like a Shannon Sharp and a Stephen A. Smith, where you have the one Uber fan, the statistician, and the one pro who's been there, done that, and been in the trenches, been with every company, been in the middle of the ring. Right. And that's how it started.
And it's interesting because you do fit that profile perfectly. Not only is the pro, but the way you come across. I've listened to the show. You definitely obviously know what you're talking about, but you put it in terms that I think the average person, even if they're not a wrestling fan, if they catch it, they're kind of, I kind of get that. And I can give you a great example. I'm listening one time, and you were making a comparison between AEW and NXT, and you called it, and may I refer to the bands, it's Kiss versus Rush. And right away, I'm like, I got it. Kiss is the band that you love to see live. They're the Flash. They put on the big presence. There's your AEW. Meanwhile, NXT, you talk about Rush, the band that is precisely perfect. And therein lies what NXT is doing. That is more about the technical wrestling as opposed to maybe the storyline that AEW is trying to get across, if I'm reading it correctly.
Yes, it's not necessarily about storyline, but you're right on the money. When, listen, Rush are some of the most phenomenal musicians in rock and roll history.
Absolutely.
And when you listen to a Rush song or when you go to a Rush concert, you're blown away by how great their musicianship is, and they never make a mistake.
Right.
But how many people go to the Rush concert? 5,000? Now you go to the Kiss concert, and they'll probably screw up 20 times a night, and there's pyro, and there's confetti, and Gene spitting blood, and there's fire, and all sorts of stuff going on, and you're walking away, you're absolutely blown away. AEW is giving you that kind of sports entertainment right now, where NXT is giving you the real nitty-gritty pro wrestling, where everything is as technically perfect as they can be.
Since we're on that topic, the thing that hits me about this war that's going on, if we can call it that, because NXT is sort of that, it's the development league, really, when you think about it for the WWE. It's a good way of putting it.
Technically, it is, but they've done a great job of branching out on their own. And in my opinion, it's the best pro wrestling show that the WWE offers right now.
That's saying a lot. And I know you've made some comments about Raw recently, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget it, that the flow of Raw needs to improve. So you definitely are making it clear NXT is right now, in your mind, the better product.
Yes, and the flow of Raw has improved over the past couple of weeks. I joke around on the air a lot, and I say they listen. And when I say they, I'm referring to all of the companies out there because they know I have no agenda.
Right.
They know I will always speak the truth. Brutal honesty to a fault at times in my career, but I don't care. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to be as honest as possible. And I've got enough feedback from enough people to know that they can be listening at any given moment, if not for the full 3 hours every day that I'm on. And I'm not saying that with ego or anything. I'm just saying this is it. It's factual. I've seen things happen on their show that I've talked about. So listen, as long as the product is better, as long as it's a more entertaining experience for the fan, I'm all for it.
And it is. And to defend your point even further, one of the most listened to shows on the Sirius XM network, any channel. That is high praise. Congratulations for what you've done so far, my friend.
I appreciate that. We've worked hard. Actually, haven't really worked that hard.
Really? That's interesting because I was about to ask you, does this seem harder? Because, as you said, a fan of radio, but you weren't probably adept to know, okay, what kind of work is going to go into this? Instead, you're saying, hey, look, I'm just having fun. This is great.
Sometime a pitcher gets on a mound and he shows the ball to the batter and he tells him, I'm throwing you a fastball. See if you can hit it.
Amen.
My mentality every morning when I get on the air is grip it and rip it. Here it is. I'm going to give you my all. I'm going to say whatever I want to say. I'll always try to be as respectful to my fellow wrestlers as possible because I understand how difficult it is to be out there and what truly goes on in the world of wrestling. But when it came to being on the radio, other than learning like the technical things like, hit your break and maybe stay away from some of these, these words that we really don't want to use on radio or whatever.
Right.
Otherwise, I just go out there and do it.
And from a guy who's been in radio for 25 plus years, I'm making the adjustment to the podcast world, which has been a little different for me because there's a lot more freedom. I got more minutes to talk where you're walking into a situation. If you were on, let's say, a commercial talk show station, you'd probably be able to talk for about 44, 45 minutes an hour. You'd have a couple of breaks. You'd have news, weather, what have you. The challenge here, and this is what I'm impressed about, it's like 55, 56 minutes in a row. And you got to keep the flow, and you and your partner LaGreca are really keeping the flow going. That is not an easy thing to do. There's like no dead air. You keep it going. You incorporate the listeners. It's really well done.
Well, we try hard to entertain.
Yeah.
And the biggest compliment that I have received, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is people will tune into the show that know absolutely nothing about wrestling, and they find themselves entertained by it. Listen, yes. I know wrestling fans are going to tune in. Wrestling fans are like sugar junkies. They want pro wrestling 24/7.
As somebody who's through that in the 90s and early 2000s, yes, you're exactly right.
I want the person who's just going to happen to fall on the station and be like, oh, yeah, I know Bubba from the WWE, or I know Bully Ray, and they'll listen and be like, oh, okay. And I want to be able to hook the person that's not necessarily extremely interested in pro wrestling, but they want to, be entertained. And we've turned into a morning show that happens to have its roots in pro wrestling.
Well said. And if I can get photo number 9 up here, Christian, just to give props to his partner, that would be Dan LaGreca, who, by the way, if you've heard the name LaGreca before, especially if you are in the New York area, go ahead, if you can put the photo up, Christian, I appreciate it. There you go. Dan is somebody who I think comes from a fairly famous family. As a matter of fact, funny story, Billy Ray, I have Don scheduled to come on the podcast the next couple months after he's done with the hockey season. So it's interesting when I found out, when I heard the name LaGreca, it's got to be a relative of Don's. Oh, my God. And then I look at the photo and go, he looks a lot like Don.
Yep, that's his brother. And if you're going to give him props, you got to get his name right. It's Dave LaGreca.
Oh, I go. You know what, Dave? I apologize right now. Yeah. I will not live this down. I know that. I'm like,
Tomorrow morning when I get on the air, it'll probably be the first thing I bring up.
There we go.
Yep.
I've made
I'm
the
like,
show.
Yep, yeah, I'm gonna make you famous in the first 15 seconds. I'm gonna talk about you. And I'm going, yeah, he butchered your name. He got it wrong. The whole nine.
I deserve it. I am the first to say I deserve that completely. Bully Ray's here on the A Game. You can check out the show if you are a subscriber to Sirius XM. It's channel 156 on the Fight Nation channel. Busted Open happens live at 9 till noon Eastern Standard Time. They do a replay starting at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you missed the day before, catch it early and enjoy 6 hours of these guys. They are very entertaining. Bully, if I can touch back on your career, obviously you're defined by your tag team. Put up photo number 8. This will say it all because it's like, how many belts could these guys have? I mean, 20 plus times the tag team champion. But I think sometimes people forget you were also the world heavyweight champion in TNA. I mean, was that at that point in your career a challenge to kind of go, hey, all right, I'm going to be a solo act? Was it a tough adjustment or was it just like, you know what? Wrestling's wrestling. I can do this. Not a problem.
It wasn't a tough adjustment, but it was very interesting in my own mind. I always knew I wanted to be a tag team wrestler. From the first time I saw the WWF in the late 70s on WOR Channel 9 here,
yes.
in New York. So, yes. I grew up on the Wild Samoans, Mr. Fuji, Mr. Saito, Gurria and Martel, and all of those legendary tag teams. And I was like, when I was watching tag team wrestling, I'm like, wow, 4 guys are more exciting than 2 guys. I always knew that I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I always knew that I wanted to be a part of a tag team. And I always knew that I wanted to be a part of the most successful tag team that ever lived. I can't say the greatest tag team because in pro wrestling, everything is subjective. It's like, who's the greatest rock and roll band in the world? Well, I don't know. It depends on your taste. Pro wrestling, who's the greatest tag team? Who's the greatest singles guy? I mean, if you ask me the greatest tag team of all time, that's easy. It's the Road Warriors.
Yeah, you actually tweeted that recently. I caught that. It was very interesting to see that. And it's interesting to see your take on it. And it's like, no, it's not us. Yes, we got all the accolades. But let me ask you, why the Road Warriors in your mind?
Because the Road Warriors put asses in seats. At the end of the day, you have to be able to sell a ticket. And the Road Warriors could be in the main event on the marquee, and people were paying money to see them beat the crap out of somebody. No other tag teams in history could really do that. Right. I pride myself, me and my brother Devon, on the fact that we could steal the show every single night. But could we put asses in seats like the Road Warriors? No, we couldn't. And no other teams could do that. And that's what makes them the greatest. Plus, they were so unique. The way they look, the shoulder pads, the spikes, the makeup, the music coming out to Ozzy's Iron Man.
Yep.
As a kid, as a fan, I loved them. And then once I got into the wrestling industry, you become a businessman, you learn to appreciate what they were able to do. So I always wanted to know I wanted to be part of a team, became part of a team. I had a vision really, really early on for this team. And I compare it to like Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley's vision for KISS. They knew what they wanted and they weren't going to let anybody stop them. Nikki Sixx had a vision for Motley Crue and he wasn't going to let anybody stop him. And that's the way me and Devon were. I mean, it was grip it and rip it every single night we went out there, no matter what federation it was for. Right. And we always said that when people go home, we want to be the guys that they're talking about. We want to be the first name on the tip of their tongue. So when me and Devon were done and we accomplished everything that you could possibly accomplish on the entire planet, in every company, every major championship won, we sat back and like, well, what are we going to do now? And I said, listen, Devon, you always wanted to try being a singles wrestler. So, hey, why don't you go give it a shot? I'll give it a shot too, and we'll see what happens. And it was the first time that I truly felt challenged in pro wrestling because I'm like, I never wanted to do this. I never wanted to be a singles wrestler. I had no desire, no ambition. And now it's the hand I'm being dealt. And if you're dealt a hand in poker, you can do 2 things. You can play it or you can fold. Absolutely. And there was no folding. So I said, well, if I'm going to be a singles wrestler, I'm going to become the world heavyweight champion.
And you did, my friend. You definitely did that.
That was it.
And you officially you consider yourself officially retired at this point, correct?
pro wrestlers are never officially retired.
I'm glad
It's
you
like
said
rock and roll band. Ozzy is on no more tours.
Two.
Wait,
Yes.
no more tours. And when that goes really well, we'll just do no more tours too. Kiss has had reunion tours, farewell tours, end of the road tours. Motley Crue basically signed a contract saying that if we ever do this again, we're going to blow ourselves up and they're going to do it again, you know? So
I'll give you another example. The Eagles had the Hell Freezes Over tour. Then they had the farewell tour, which is on its 7th chapter, I think, at this point in time.
So I'm semi-retired. I will, if the right thing comes along to me, when I say the right thing, it has to be the right story. Okay. I'm a storyteller in the world of pro wrestling. I'm a very, pro wrestling is like soap opera. It's, it's fighting opera. Yeah. And I need to be able to really sink my teeth into a good story with a hero and a villain and something that plays out. Unfortunately, with attention spans today of what they are, people just want to get in, get on, get off, get out. And that's okay sometimes, but it's not exactly what I love to do. I like long-term storytelling. So if I find the right long-term story, I will probably get back involved. But if not, I'm very content with how my career ended.
Cool.
And what I'm doing right now, because nobody in the world of wrestling is doing what I'm doing.
This is true. And if I can put up a couple of photos, Christian, give me photo number 7 if you don't mind. I believe was this the last match you were in? This is with ROH.
No, it wasn't the last match, but I made everybody believe it was.
Oh, you did. Absolutely, you did.
And you have to understand something about the Ring of Honor fan, ROH. They are considered the smartest wrestling fans. Like, they know how the trick is done. So you really can't pull the wool over their eyes or get anything past them. Well, I told a story about concussion syndrome, CTE, and how I was suffering the effects of long-term concussion syndrome, and I had suffered another concussion in Ring of Honor. And I said, this is it. I'm done. I got to worry about my health. I can't do this anymore. That's going to be the last table I break. And that happened in Chicago. Chicago wrestling fans, very, very smart. Ring of Honor fans, very smart. And they were crying.
Wow.
Men in the front row, grown men crying, saying, Bully, please don't go. Standing ovation, thank you, Bully. And I'm laughing. I'm like, I got the hook in every single one of your mouths right now. And, the video that you pulled that picture from, the caption that I wrote is, the smarter they are, the harder they fall. And the harder they fall is, the harder they fall for it, for the story.
But that says a lot about what you were saying before, about the story and about the acting. I mean, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't fully respect in a sense, because I think we're starting to see it as the transition of some of these wrestlers have become very good actors. So you got to have an acting skill to basically sell the product, sell the story, and then go in the ring and then do it.
And selling is the most important part. Yeah. Dusty Rhodes 101, sell, and sell some more. You're always selling something in the world of pro wrestling, whether you're selling a move, selling an injury, selling a ticket for a show, selling a pay-per-view, selling a t-shirt, selling the weekly TV show. You always want to be selling. And on the other end of that, ABC, you always want to be closing, because if you're closing them the right way, that means you have them. And having them in the palm of your hand when you're telling a story is what you look for. A lot of wrestling these days, it revolves around the moves in the ring, the flips and the dives and the splashes and the super kicks and the things and that. You can only respond to a move so many times.
Right.
You can only use that same emotion of, ooh, ah, whoa, ah. You can only do it so much. My type of pro wrestling is, I want to make you laugh. I want to make you cry. I want to make you hate me. I want to make you love me. I want all this and more. And then it culminates in 1 or 2 big matches.
Let me ask you, what did you prefer, being loved or being hated?
Being hated. Nobody can be hated like I can be hated. Nobody. There's not a person on the planet who can elicit hatred like I can. Zero, nil, nobody.
It's true. That had to happen.
And one of the reasons why I'm kind of stepped away from it is because the level of hatred that I bring to the world of pro wrestling, I don't know if the world that we live in can handle it anymore.
It's a good point.
It's, there's too much political correctness. People's feelings get hurt too much. I see wrestlers having to apologize for things that they did or said on TV. Maybe a storyline or a promo offended somebody, and they apologize. I'm like, I apologize for nothing.
You own your stuff, man. Got to respect that.
And but here's the thing: a good professional can be loved on Monday, hated on Tuesday, and loved again on Wednesday. You have to be able to go out there and play both roles. And normally, the guys that are most hated can always transition into the most loved. Right. And the guys that are most loved can always transition into most hated. It's about commanding the two major emotions, love and hate. Unfortunately, too many guys and gals right now play it down the middle, especially the ones that want to be hated. They want to be hated, but they're going out there and doing moves that make them be liked or loved.
Right.
So now they're not black or white, they're gray. And gray is the worst color in wrestling because a fan doesn't know what to do with gray. If I see white, I know I love that. If I see black, I know I hate that. It's all about the black hat and the white hat. That's the way it's been. Just watch old Westerns. The good guy wore the white hat, the bad guy wore the black hat.
Let me take this and apply it to what you're doing on the radio. It sounds like you're doing the same thing. You're either going to be loved at times for your opinions, you're going to be hated at times for your opinions, but you're going to be consistent. Like you said, could be loved on Monday, could be hated tomorrow by giving your opinions on what you're going to see later tonight.
When the show ends and I take to social media and I take a look at some of the responses, it's right down the middle. It's either, oh my God, I love Bully, I agree with him, or F this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
Okay, 30 years, 2 Hall of Fames, 97 world championships, and I still don't know what I'm talking about. But whatever, it's all good. Listen, if you don't have haters, you're not doing your job the right way.
This is true. And to give him credit, on his Twitter feed, he's got almost 400,000 followers. So he's doing something right, ladies and gentlemen. No question about that. This is Bully Ray here on the A Game. Listen, I got to mention the Team 3D Academy. How have you been handling stuff in the pandemic with the Academy, by the way?
Totally fine.
Okay.
I'm not going to, we try to be as careful as possible.
Of course.
I've told my students, if you even have a sniffle, don't come in. Yeah. Temperatures, all that, we're following all of the necessary procedures. It's very close contact, it's pro wrestling.
Of course.
We do whatever we have to. We had 2 shutdowns. We got past it and we keep on trucking. What are you going to do? So
exactly. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
How did you get to Tommy Dreamer's your partner in this? Is he not?
Tommy helps me every once in a while. Me and Devon opened up a wrestling school in 2007 in Florida. So we have 2 Team 3D Academies. We have a location in Florida. We have a location in Connecticut. Devon runs the one in Florida. I run the one in Connecticut. Tommy lives here in the Northeast, so he stops in every once in a while, and he helps me out with the students. And when he owns a company called House of Hardcore, and if he needs me, I'll wrestle on his shows.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. And I know recently you got Tommy pretty well on your radio show. Did you not surprise him on his birthday or something, if I caught that correctly?
Oh, yeah. We had a surprise show for him. A bunch of people called in to wish him happy birthday. He just turned 50. So, we got him pretty good. Like almost the entire show is dedicated just to his 50th birthday. So he hosts one day a week. He hosts on Wednesday. And, Tommy's more of that feel good, him and Dave talk a lot about old school wrestling and, their favorite wrestling t-shirts and their favorite entrance music. And it's more, it's more of a happy-go-lucky show as opposed to the shows that I'm on where it's just brutal truth all day long.
In other words, the pop culture show happens on Wednesdays. And there's nothing wrong with that because you got to admit, wrestling now through the last 20 years has become more about pop culture. Well, I should say it this way, is a part of our pop culture more than ever before.
Absolutely. And you have people in the pro wrestling business that are, obviously household names over the past 20 years. I mean, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, yada, yada. And everybody's a pro wrestling fan. At one time or another, everybody has been a pro wrestling fan. I've met brain surgeons who have been like, can I tell you something? Sure. I used to watch Bruno Sammartino, and I'm like, really? Of course you did. Everybody. And everybody's got a grandmother who used to watch pro wrestling, and everybody's got the same story about how their grandmother used to curse at the television because her favorite wrestler, was getting beat up. Everybody, like I said, it's a form of entertainment that has a little bit something for everybody. To me, a good pro wrestling show should be like a giant buffet. You're going to get a little bit of everything. And I'm not saying that these people stay wrestling fans their whole life, but, I remember as a kid, my grandmother used to watch The Young and the Restless.
Okay.
And I'd be like, oh, come on, Grandma, do we really have to watch this? And she's like, this is my show. I like watching it. So I decided to watch The Young and the Restless with her one day.
Okay.
And for the next year and a half, I never missed The Young and the Restless.
I'll say this. I'm in college. It's the late 80s. It was so addictive that my roommate and I, we got girlfriends at this point. They're coming in the dorm room. They're like going, hey, we're ready for lunch. Like, shh, Nikki's about to tell who the real father is. We couldn't move. We're like going, is Victor Newman really the father of Nikki's baby? What?
Victor Newman and Nikki, absolutely.
Thank you. That's how obsessed trust me, I was obsessed back then too. Oh,
Did
God.
you ever think we were going to go down this road tonight talking about Young and the Restless?
Y&R with Bully Ray? No.
Tremendous.
I love it.
Think about General Hospital, Luke and Laura's wedding, and one of the biggest, ratings in television history. I mean, and how does a soap opera... They've been on for 40 years, 5 days a week for 40 years, some of these shows. How do they do it? Because of the storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. And you've seen in the news recently, I mean, now they're talking about All My Children, a reboot coming on to primetime called Pine Valley. Matter of fact, I've had 3 or 4 members of All My Children come on this podcast. We've been talking about the reboot. And it's interesting to hear, they all said the same thing that you just said. It is about the writing. It is about the storytelling that really makes these shows work.
It has to. What else do they have? It's all, it's like, have you ever listened to people say, oh, it's, I have to watch my stories today? They call the soap operas their stories. I have to watch my stories. I mean, and a lot of older people say that, and that's what it is. It's just stories, and people look. And a great song tells a story. A great book tells a story. A great movie tells a story. A great wrestling match tells a story.
Good stuff. Bully Ray's here on the A Game. Okay, I'm up to this part where I do random shots. These are a few questions that can come from anywhere, and obviously I was digging on your social media, so I've come up with some things. And because it is random shots, I always do a shot. So my thanks to my boys here as Death Wish Coffee has their new coffee vodka. Good shit, by the way. Cheers.
Cheers.
Needed that. With that, Orion Bully, since we were talking music, I figure this is interesting. Obviously, you're a fan of Kiss and you're a fan of Rush, but let's take them out of the equation for a second. Give me 3 rock bands that are a part of your music collection.
Oh, my God. Metallica, AC/DC, Motley Crue, Ozzy, LA Guns, Guns N' Roses.
I get you. Hey, I can't object to any of them.
Venom, Slayer, Pantera, and the almighty Black Label Society.
Ooh, another good one.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to say, when you said Metallica, the first thing that came to mind, I don't know if you remember this, if you were around at that point. Nassau Coliseum, Metallica, the opening act was Queensryche, and Queensryche's doing Operation Mindcrime in its entirety.
Okay, I'm not a big Queensryche fan.
Oh, okay. That was cool. I got to admit, seeing that album just on top to bottom with the video imagery, I'm like, nailed it. Give him credit.
Have you ever been to a Queensryche concert?
Mm-hmm.
How many girls were there?
Good
You
point.
ever been to a Motley Crue concert?
How many girls are there? Plenty.
How many girls were there?
I like your logic, sir.
There you go.
All right. One wrestling question I've done on Random Shots. What do you think was the better look for you? Give me number one, Christian. Was it you with the glasses or you without the glasses?
You know, it's funny because you have to understand where the glasses came from. Do you know where the glasses came from?
Honestly, no. So I'm really glad you're about to tell me.
So the entire Dudley gimmick was based around the Hanson brothers from the movie Slapshot.
Oh, yeah. Now
the
it
three brothers who wore the black horned rim glasses with the goofy looking son of a bitches.
Yes.
But when they got on the ice, they would just beat the crap out of you.
Which they did.
And the Dudleys were a bunch of, brothers. Our dad was a pro wrestler who traveled all over the United States. And every time he made a stop in a different town, he shacked up with a different woman, knocked her up, and out came another Dudley brother, and out came another Dudley brother. And we all had our individual personalities. At one time, there was 9 of us, and we all wore the black glasses. So, in ECW, everybody knew the story.
Right.
And then the WWE came knocking on our door, and they're like, we really want you here. And we had several meetings with them. And then we show up with the glasses. The WWE never told the story of the Dudley Boys.
This is true.
They just let us go out there and do our thing, and it kind of worked out.
Yeah. Since you bring up ECW, because I mean that was such a unique organization. I'm not talking about the version that came later on. We're talking about the original. Paul Heyman doing it in small places, diving off the rafters, you name it, they did it. We want tables.
Yep.
You got the gist. You know what I'm talking about. Do you think that could ever happen again the way ECW did it? Because it was so unique.
No. Right now, there is a company called AEW, All Elite Wrestling, and they'll actually be on tonight at 8 o'clock on TNT. AEW is coming close because of their relationship with the fan base. ECW had a very unique relationship with their fan base, and if you ask any ECW wrestler who knows what they're talking about, they'll tell you the most unique thing was our audience, because they were just as much a part of the show as the wrestlers were. AEW has that same fan base. They're saying that, they're calling AEW a revolution. ECW was the true original wrestling revolution. We were the Sex Pistols. We were the Ramones. ECW was the Napster of the wrestling industry. Napster went out of business. Napster went bankrupt, but Napster changed the entire game forever. And that's what ECW was. And if it wasn't for ECW, you would have never gotten the Attitude Era in the WWE.
Right.
Because every back then, 1997, 98, you turned on Monday Night Raw and there were ECW chants in the crowd. Nobody ever chanted WCW. Nobody ever chanted NWA. Nobody ever chanted AEW. For the past 30 years, they've been chanting ECW.
It's true.
And there's a reason.
And I tell you, as somebody who went to an ECW event a long time ago, it is probably the most unique experience in wrestling. If you were lucky enough to get there, you know what we're speaking of. Just the minute you walk in there, the intensity of ECW, ECW, ECW. I'm like, and of course, every other, holy shit. You're right. The audience was just as much a part of this as the wrestlers. It was so cool. It was one of the coolest things. That's why I had to ask if it could come back.
And because it was too extreme. We would get to the edge every single night, and how we survived, we still don't know. I mean, me and Devon started riots on a nightly basis. And when I say riots, I mean legit riots. I don't even really tell a lot of the stories today because by today's standards, they're so unbelievable. I'm talking about full-blown fans jumping guardrails, getting into fistfights with me, Devon, our brother, Big Dick Dudley, full-blown punching people in the face, getting arrested, the riot dogs, having the shows shut down for an hour at a time because they had to clean the ring up. You'll never see that again because I don't think the world could handle it.
You're probably
Everybody's
right.
a little too timid.
Yeah, I was about to say, because of the world we live in, probably not going to happen.
Yeah. And, you know, we live in a world of political correctness, right?
Right now we do. Yes, we do.
And what was ECW's slogan?
Oh.
Politically incorrect and damn proud of it.
Exactly. And again, I got to admit, as a fan, I'm glad I got to experience it. It was
Where'd you go? Where'd you go?
Was around the Philadelphia area. I was working at that point. I'm trying to think. I was working around Wilmington, Delaware. You know, I was doing a radio show, I was doing the night show, and then doing the afternoon show for a station called WSDW, and managed to hear about a show. And actually, they sold some advertising on the radio station at that point about the show. So I was like, oh, I got a ticket. I'm going.
Do you remember what year it was?
No, it had to be probably late 90, maybe early 2000, somewhere in that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We had left and gone to the
WWE. You had left at that point. Yeah, exactly. Two more questions for you. Chris Hemsworth has come out and say he's going to be playing Hulk Hogan, and a Netflix biopic is going to come out in 2022. So I was thinking, if they were going to do the biopic on you and Devon, what actors do you think should play you two?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know.
No, I don't like throwing a curve.
You tell me who should play me.
I can do that, as a matter of fact. Okay, for Devon, Christian gave me photo number 5. Terry Crews. He looks a little like Terry Crews. I think Terry could pull that off.
Nice. That's a good call. Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to admit this one, Bully. This is a stretch, and I will understand if you hate it, but I recently saw a photo of him with the shaved head, and I think body frame, the potential to bulk up and to pull this off. Give me photo number 4, Channing Tatum.
Oh, that's a good friend of mine.
Oh, Rick, get out of here.
Yeah, because when People Magazine voted him the sexiest man alive,
right,
they were actually going to give it to me, but I turned it down so they would give it to Channing. Absolutely. And I'm just a little bit better looking than Channing. So
well, yeah, just slightly. And I know you're a little taller too, but again, we can't fill it perfectly. So, you know, we'll put the beard up.
His abs are a little bit better than mine, but he ain't got calves like me.
There you go. We see you can work with Channing. I think this could make sense. Hello, Hollywood. Hello. We got something here.
Absolutely. How do you think? How do you think he'd look at my glasses though? Like Channing, like this?
Oh, wait, see, you know what that could work. Since you brought that up, I'm looking behind you. What is your favorite tchotchke that you have back there?
I don't know. I love those. Everything that I have back here, fans gave to me. That's
cool.
Yeah. So, you know, when they tune into the radio show, they can see their little tchotchke, on the show every day. I love the AC/DC and Kiss, pops. My life-size Darth Vader. You gotta love the Bully Ray action figure rocking the Flavor Flav. Whatever it is.
By the way, how many of those action figures? There was a bunch of different versions of you, wasn't
56.
there? 56. How many?
56.
That's crazy.
Obviously, this guy is on major amounts of steroids.
Yeah.
Lots of growth hormone, lots of Anavar. One day I hope to look like this guy.
Hey, Christian, before I get to the last question, did you find a photo of Channing Tatum with the glasses on him by any chance? Okay, put it up there. Now I got to be curious to see if this can work. If you can put that up there for us, that would be wonderful. All right, so give it a second because, again, Bully's got to approve this if Channing's going to do the movie. You know that. So you got it up there?
Absolutely. That's a damn handsome man.
See? They could work. It could work. I'm telling you. All right, I got one more question for you, Bully. And I realize big birthday coming up. You're going to be turning 50, so early happy birthday to you. Do you have any ideas of what you want to do for your 50th?
Well, our mutual friend, Tom Janarone, has my wish list.
Mm-hmm.
He also knows that if anything is missed on my wish list, there will be hell to pay. Now, when I turned 40, Tommy threw me the greatest 40th birthday party, or the greatest birthday party I've ever had. When he turned 50, I threw him the greatest 50th birthday party. So I'm turning 50, and it's not a one-day thing. It's not a 2-day thing. It's not a 3-day. It's a 4-day excursion.
I like this.
It's 4 days of absolute balls to the wall, just nothing but a good time. I want him to fly in Steel Panther. I want Steel Panther to play my 50th at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park.
Oh, Kyle Brendel, I know you're paying attention and watching.
Yes, he is.
Kyle, you know what's happening here. It's like
Kyle knows. Kyle knows.
I would like to officially throw my hat in the ring as your host for the 50th birthday party of Bully Ray. I would love to do that.
You're there. So we're gonna have a night at DJ's. We're gonna have a night at Bar A. We're gonna have a night at the Headliner. We're gonna have a night at at the Pony. Anything and everything you could think of.
You know, it's amazing. You bring up Tommy, and Tommy's been so good to me over the years. And it's amazing that we haven't met before this, because back in the 90s, when I was working at the alternative rock station in the area, Wednesday nights, Bar A during the summer was alt night. So I was always hosting every Wednesday night over there. Tommy took very good care of me. And Tommy's the reason that we got together with this. So Tommy Janarone, thank you so much for this. This has just been so much fun. My God, thank you.
He would have gotten so mad, because he's probably watching right now. If he's not watching right now, he's going to watch later. And the reason he's watching is he wants to know if we're going to name drop him. Because if we didn't name drop him, we'd be like, I put this all together and you guys couldn't even mention me and put me over.
Now, the funny thing is, there was one photo I was going to put up that has you and Tommy in it, and it was from the induction to the WWE Hall of Fame. With your blessing, I'd like to put that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Put photo number 2 up. Not that one. That's Gotts. I'll get to Gotts in a second, but number 2, please. Yeah, that's a great photo. I mean, that it seems like that was a special night to be shared with family and friends, and Tommy looks like he's having a blast at that ceremony, too.
Those are probably 2 of my closest and best friends in the world. Obviously, Tommy there, and the other guy is Darby. And when I say they're my best friends, what I really mean are they're the worst friends ever. Like, they're bad human beings, the both of them. They are both the devil incarnate. That is Satan and Beelzebub. Darby's just a rotten son of a bitch. He makes everybody's life miserable. He doesn't have a job. He just walks around all day collecting interest on his $5 million that's in his trust fund, and he hangs out on the beach. While Tommy just working all day long. Hey, Tommy, what are you doing? Oh, I'm working. I have so much work to do. I'm working. And then Darby just walks in the house like Lenny or Squiggy. Hello. And just disturbed. Yeah. Bad people. And Joe DeVito, he's another piece of crap.
Now put up the photo of Gotts so we can get on him, photo 3, because Gotts is a good friend of mine. By the way, if you don't know him, in Jersey, he's part of 95.9 The Rat, which is a great rock station in the area. Gotts and I go way back. He still gives me credit for basically saying, look, you gave me the best advice you ever gave me when I first started. And I basically told him, be you. Be who you are, and people will love you. And as it turns out, he hasn't changed a bit. He is who he is, and that's why you got to love the guy. And I think that's something you can appreciate, Bully, because you're that same way. Be who you are. Either they're going to love you or they're going to hate you.
I adore Gotts. He is the Gilligan to my Skipper.
There you go.
I call him my little buddy. I love seeing him. I laugh instantly the moment I see him. I've spent many a drunken night with him. Stories that I could never tell. And I think he's a star.
He is.
If it wasn't for Gotts, I don't think people would listen to The Rat or the show that he's on, because he is the biggest personality there. You watch Gotts around Belmar, New Jersey, he's the fucking mayor.
As somebody who was with him one St. Patrick's Day parade, which I hope by next year we get to do that in Belmar, New Jersey, we had, and I'm going to wrap it up with this comment. We've been friends for so long. He looked at me. He's like, going, when are we ever going to do a morning show? I looked him dead in the eye going, you want Drunken Drunker in the morning? They're never going to let that happen. It will never happen. Love him to death.
He's the best. I want to put a video camera on him 24/7, just videotape his life, and then sell it to MTV. We'll all become billionaires.
Yes, $1 billion. Let me say it one more time. Sirius XM channel 156 is Fight Nation Busted Open. Happens 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time, 6 days a week. Here's the reason why you're going to listen. Also, that LaGreca guy who I know I'm about to get buried tomorrow morning. And I look forward to listening to hear that. Well,
right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Look, I just became famous in the worst possible way. Thank you so much. Bully, I look forward to hanging out with you at some point, my brother. This has been a blast.
Let's do it. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. Hope everybody tunes in, and we'll definitely drink some Casamigos when I see you.
Speak my language.
There
That's
you
a wrap.
go.
That's the wrap for the A game tonight. I'm Rob Akinport. Until next we meet, for Bully Ray and myself, you take care. Have a good week ahead. Take care.